Hello, welcome to this DCS F-16 tutorial. In this video, I will be talking about GPS guided munitions. To start, we can have GPS guided munitions on our Pylon 7 and our Pylon 3. On Pylon 3, I have placed 2x GBU-38 JDAM 500-pound GPS guided bombs. In our Pylon 7, I put one of my favorite weapons to use in the F-16 for air-to-ground, 2x CBU 103 10x SFW CBU with WCMD, wind corrected munitions dispenser. So this CBU 105 is an extremely powerful cluster bomb that is able to, when it bursts out, target known enemy heat signatures of vehicles and then deploy munitions onto them. Extremely effective at defeating hardened armor targets. The CBU 103 is also a GPS guided munition, but it's designed for anti-infantry, and honestly, I find the SFW works just as well, but it packs more of a punch. They have unguided variants, which can also be used. CBU 97 and 87. They can be used in the same exact way as your unguided bombs. The JDAM is a single warhead, essentially a dumb bomb with a GPS guidance on it to make it smart. After you rearm, in air to ground on your SMS page, you will now see your configuration for the weapons. So here we see we have two CB105s, and the power is currently off. In order to employ the munitions, we need to turn the power on. We toggle to the next weapon. Same for our GBU-38s. We have two of them, and the power is off. We will turn it on. The munition is now aligning its GPS guidance systems. We will see it started at A10, now it is at A09, and that will count down once they have completely aligned. You have two methods of utilizing GPS guided munitions. Pre for pre-planned, where you can drop it on a steer point that you have selected, or VIS for a visual targeting mode. I will demonstrate VIS as that is the most useful, to be able to just look at a target it, and then drop the bomb. Pre-planned is only going to be useful for a hardened target, like a building that's not going to move, and you can just punch in the coordinates to the steer point, select the steer point, and then drop it as you would any other kind of munition. Alright, so I'll put that in visual. I'll put my JDAMs, my GB38s, in visual as well. And I will go ahead and move on over to our standard demonstration area. I'll pause it here so it's not too boring. Alright, flying over to the target area. Let's go ahead and slew our targeting pod where we want it, using whatever method you prefer to control your targeting pod. For me, it's utilizing the DTOS method. So I'll do that. HMD, sensor of interest, hold TMS up, release, and place the square where I want to go. Put that there. And I'll fine tune it on the pod. Alright, once again, just like the dumb bombs, we put it on the base of the target. And let's turn back in and talk about some symbology. So I'll first start with the GBU-38s, just the guided 500-pound bomb. When we have the munition selected, we see some options down in here. We can configure them in the control page, adjusting whatever we like. The same for the CBU-105s, we see info. BA stands for burst altitude, where the cluster dispenser will open. And we can mess with all of this in the control page as well. I find that I really have no need to mess with them, the defaults is fine, but if you feel like it, you can experiment. Down in the corner, we can see the pylon we currently have the munitions on, in this case our GBU-38s are on pylon 3, and our 105s are on pylon 7. It looks like I accidentally pressed my TMS aft to reslave it to my steer point. Luckily it was in the area, so I'll just find a target. So yeah, put it on the base. I can press TMS forward to initiate the point track and tell it that's my target. If you're using this targeting pod to find the target, you have to press TMS forward. If you're using your helmet and DTOS, it already did it for you. And now we can see some symbology. This is our release range, just like if we were doing air-to-air. The caret is where we are, and the bracket is our release window. And we have the horizontal line up here, as you saw in the dumb bombs. Once we get within range, we are going to be able to release the munition. I'm in range, so all I need to do is press weapon release. And it doesn't want to release because I never armed my plane. There we go. Arm my plane, press weapon release in the range, and the bomb has dropped. We'll see that go in. Throw it on an autopilot so I don't crash. And it'll go right where I told it to. A nice thing about GPS guided munitions is not only can you release it at any altitude, as long as you can mark the target, you can also release multiples in a single pass. Whereas dumb bombs and lasers, if you're doing CCRP with dumb bombs, you can only do one target, one pass. CCIP, if you're creative, you can get multiples. But lasers, you can also only do one target per pass because you have to lase and guide the munition. Here, you can do multiples. So on this next pass, I will release my GBU-38, cycle to the 105s, and then release those all in the same pass. See, the targets are back there. When you're using guided munitions, you want to be flying generally toward the target. You can fire it when you're off-centered, but the bomb just has to work a little bit harder to get on track and might not be as accurate. It's flying over. Let's find another target. So I want to release the cluster on those two. I'll place it right in the center. And I want to release my single right here. So now that I've formulated my attack plan, I can go ahead and initiate, ideally killing 3 targets in this next pass without having to turn around. I'll get my speed up. The faster and the higher you are, the larger your release window. So I'll verify my targeting pod is where I want it. Looks good. I'm actually going to zoom out because I know it's where I want it, and I'll prep to slew it for my cluster bombs. Alright, I'm in the release window. I'll show that I can hit it while I'm still offset. So, level off, release, select my cluster bombs, look for those targets. It reset itself, but I can find them easy enough. Still in zone, and release. Well, let's go ahead and watch the action. So the CBU is dropping a little faster. I'll show you what that looks like. When it releases its burst altitude height, it's going to burst open and release a whole bunch of little parachute munitions. There it goes. And these little parachute munitions will fall to the ground. And then if they don't see a target, oh, there's the GBU, it hit. If they don't see a target, it'll act as a classic cluster, but if it does, it'll send a ton right on top of it. As you can see there. Extremely, extremely powerful weapons to have. Alright, that covers the basics of GPS guided munitions in visual mode. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching.